The Hilton Valley Railway was a significant development in the process of heavy hauling in 7¼ gauge. In this issue, we're looking at another landmark railway in the evolution of heavy haulage. We're at the Moors Valley Railway. In 1968, Roger Marsh did something different to what other model engineers were doing at the time, and for the first time he built a practical loco that the driver could sit in as opposed to sit on. He built this Tinkerbell. This is a very small full-size engine. It is not, in the conventional sense, a miniature engine. So successful was this design that actually many dozens have been built around the country and over the years. But here at Moors Valley, they took the philosophy one step further and developed it into this. Difference between a model loco and a real engine, as we've got here, is the philosophy behind it. Now, in practical terms, we've got here a loco that is built with modern techniques, modern bits and pieces. For instance, we have bull races in there, we have roller bearings in there, the motions welded together, etc., etc. It's intended to be easily built, easily maintained and reliable, and this makes for a very, very successful engine. With these small locos, we're using commercial fittings where possible, like we're using commercial ball valves on the steam feeds. We're using full-size gauge glasses. We're using ball valves for regulators. We're using commercial safety valves. All this is much, much more practical, particularly when you're doing commercial passenger hauling. This has to go round and round all day with no fuss, day in, day out. That's a tall order. There are some very young drivers on this line, but actually, Tim, you started younger than most, didn't you?
Yeah, I started when I was 3, so I was quite lucky there.
Yeah, how on earth did that happen?
Well, the chap that owns Rowley is obviously my uncle Jim, and just sort of brought up with steam and dragged up with it from a young age, I guess, and just sort of, here's the engine, sort of went up and down the platform, and then decided going round the track with them sat behind me, and yeah, there we are. So 20 years later, I'm still here.
Yes, and indeed, if I'm right, you now work here full time.
I do indeed. I do 6 days a week here, and it's all good fun.
Yeah, what sort of work do you do here?
Engineering work, track work, bit of woodwork, drive the engines, do a bit of guarding, bit of everything.
Anything that needs doing.
That's it.
And is it something you always wanted to do, or was it?
Yeah, I'd like to have done it. Well, I wanted to do it when I was quite young. I went to college for a few years. My uncle needed somebody else to come and work here, and I said to him at the time, can I come? And sort of 4 years later, I'm still here.
Excellent. It's not very many people who get the chance to earn a living playing with really rather lovely engines such as this. William Rufus, how did she come about? Tell me about William Rufus.
Well, my uncle fancied building a Garrett. It's based on Horton, or the power bogies are based on Horton. She's a 240042. It's got the same power bogies with Walshart's valve gear, and obviously a slightly fatter boiler, 2 tanks, and there we are.
Although perhaps this isn't the most powerful loco on the line, she's fairly unique.
Yes, she is indeed, yeah.
Now, of course, Garretts, by definition, you've got a boiler slung on a central frame and then an engine unit at both ends, and they swivel to allow articulation around sharp curves, etc., etc. Very useful. But of course, that articulation is difficult because you've got to get the steam round in a flexible joint and the exhaust steam back and all this. How are we doing that?
Well, we take the steam from the main dome, that comes to a T, which is then obviously copper piped to the end of the chassis, and then there's flexible units, flexible hoses, which are steam, and then they go to the bogies from there.
Reliable?
Very. Have been very. We've managed to source a reliable one.
And presumably you managed to source it from a normal hose factor?
Yep, just down the road from us. We're quite lucky. We've got all the people we need within a close area.
Remarkable. What about driving it? I've never driven any engine with 2 power bogies. Any difference?
Yes, there is. It's very different. It's as if it's like a car with turbo. With a turbo, it has turbo lag. You open the regulator, you have to wait for the steam, then you sort of close it, and then you can pull away gently. You have to think sort of 50 feet in front of you with what you want to do, because it's just slow reacting. We've got long pipes. It takes a long time for the steam to get there.
Adhesion, though, very important to get weight down onto the bogies.
Yeah, it's very good for that. Doesn't slip its wheels too often, only usually in the autumn when we've got leaves on the track. With the water either end on the bogies, it sticks to the road very well. Very strange.
So presumably she can actually haul anything that you put behind her.
I mean, it certainly does our 12-coach trains that we do during the summer with no problem at all.